We've now taken a look at primary keys and foreign keys. So we are going to use this idea of a foreign key to set up all four kinds of those different relationships. Whenever we talk about a one-to-many, a many-to-one, a many-to-many, or a one-to-one, we are always going to somehow involve a foreign key column. That is how we set up relationships. Now, this idea of foreign keys is a little bit challenging, so let's take a look at another quick example from this kind of image setup or image sharing database. So let's try to walk through the foreign keys that we would start to set up if we wanted to express how comments are related to users and comments are related to photos. So remember, comments have one user and comments have one photo. If we consider that relationship from the opposite direction, we would say that a user has many comments and a photo has many comments. So to decide which table is going to get the foreign key columns here, here's what we're going to do. We're going to say that the many side of our relationship is always going to get the foreign key column. So in our case, for photos and comments, it is a one-to-many relationship. Comments are the many side. So the comments table is going to get a foreign key column pointing at the photo that each comment belongs to. In the case of users and comments, a user has many comments, or we might say that it is a one-to-many relationship from the perspective of the user. So the comments are the many side of the relationship. So the comments table is going to get a foreign key column, and all the values inside there are going to point back at the user who created that comment. All right, so here's what we might end up with. Inside of our database, we've got comments, photos, and users. Comments has two additional columns on it now. So it has two foreign key columns, user ID and photo ID. The user ID is going to record the ID of the user who created this comment, and the photo ID is going to record the ID of the photo that the comment was created on. So if we want to figure out all the information needed for this first comment right here, we would say that comments, we look up the user ID, it's 4. So the person who created this first comment is that user right there. And then we added the image, we added the comment to the photo with ID 3. So it is a comment that belongs to that image right there. We can then repeat that process for all the other rows inside of our comments table. So for the second comment, it was created by that user, because it has a 4 right there, and there's user ID 4, and it was added to the photo with ID 2. And we can just go down the list. How about we just skip right to the last one? This last comment was created by the user with ID 2, and it was a comment that was added to photo with ID 1. So that's it. Again, we are going to use these foreign key columns to set up all of our different kinds of relationships. Now, as you first start to look at this entire idea of foreign keys, it is really complicated. And you might say to yourself, Stephen, there's no way this is how it's actually done. Yes, this is how we set up relationships. This is the only way. So we do have to really understand how this stuff works. The first time you see it, it does look very confusing. But I've got great news for you. It is a very mechanical process. Setting up relationships is always going to be done the exact same way. So you really just have to learn it correctly one time, and then it's going to make sense forever. All right, so last thing I want to do very quickly is just put out some notes or comparison between primary keys and foreign keys. Primary keys, I think that you're probably going to understand really easily, really quickly. It is a key that is meant to somehow identify a row inside of a table. But foreign keys are just a little bit harder to keep in your mind. It's just a little bit harder to remember exactly what a foreign key does. So a primary key identifies one row in a table. It is always going to be 100% unique inside that table. So there will never be a duplicate value inside of a primary key column. The vast majority of the time, we're going to call the primary key column ID. That's it, simply ID. You will see a lot of other blog posts and tutorials and whatnot where they say, oh yeah, we'll set something like a country name, maybe, the name of a country, like that column, as the primary key. That's a really bad idea because as we saw a little bit ago, there might be multiple different cities in the world, for example, that have the exact same name. And because our primary keys always have to be unique, we cannot use the name of a city as an effective primary key column. So in general, we're going to usually call this thing ID. rather than trying to reuse some other existing column. The primary key is almost always going to be either an integer or a universally unique ID. A UUID is something that basically looks like this. It's just kind of like a random jumble looking characters. And then finally, for a given row, the primary key is never, ever, ever going to change. So if we ever create a user with ID 1, that is it. That is a user with ID 1. We're never going to reuse that ID, and it's never going to be assigned to any other user, never going to mess with it. And then foreign keys, very quickly, because I know this is going to turn into a long video. So a table only needs to have a foreign key column if records inside there belong to some other record inside of our database. Right now, as we've discussed our entire schema, users do not really belong to or don't serve on the has many side of any relationship. So our users table is probably not ever going to have a foreign key column, but just about everything else will. Foreign keys do not need to be unique. So many different rows inside of this foreign key column can be identical. And we even saw that in this diagram right here. Here's our foreign key column of user ID. And we see that 2 different comments belong to user with ID 4. So it is entirely okay to have duplicate IDs inside that foreign key column. Naming conventions for the foreign key is going to vary. As you go and work at some given company, they might have their own conventions. But what we are going to generally do inside this course is give it a name of whatever the resource is that we are pointing at or trying to reference underscore ID. And that's why you see over here, for comments, we've got user underscore ID because we are using that to point at a user, and photo underscore ID because we're using that to point at a photo. Now it's always going to be a value that is exactly equal to the primary key of the row that we are trying to reference. So in other words, on this comment right here, the comment with ID 2, it was created by user with ID 4. That is always going to be, that value right there, always 100% equal to whatever the ID is of this row right here. And then finally, we will end up changing that value, unlike the primary key, if the relationship changes. So for example, if for some reason we could reassign who created a comment, it doesn't really make a lot of sense, but maybe you could somehow take over someone else's comment, so to speak. So maybe this last comment right here is currently saying that it was created by user with ID 2. Maybe for some reason we want to allow our system to allow some user to impersonate someone. I don't know. Who knows what it is? Basically, we can freely change this value right here and say, oh, you know what? Actually, this comment was created by user with ID 1 instead. Totally fine. Totally can do it. It changes the relationship. It means that this last comment was now created by this very different user, but it is 100% permissible. It is only the primary key column that we never want to change. All right, so I apologize for the long video, but that is pretty much it for an introduction on relationships and setting these things up using primary keys and foreign keys. So let's go through a very quick quiz, and then we're going to start to write out some actual SQL to see the implications of setting up these relationships and how we can actually use them to fetch data.